should have known something was wrong when Magnus wouldn't look at me all day. We'd been circling each other for 3 months, ever since my 18th birthday, when the mate bond snapped into place, so hard I thought my chest would cave in. 3 months of stolen glances, of his scent driving me absolutely insane, of lying awake at night feeling him through the bond, even though he kept his distance. 3 months of hoping he'd finally accept what the goodness had given us. But tonight, as I stood in the center of the pack clearing with every member of Red Howl watching, I felt that hope dying a slow, agonizing death. The full moon hung heavy above us, so bright it cast shadows across Magnus's face. He stood 20 feet away, and the space between us felt like an ocean. His father, Alpha Cross, stood at his right shoulder, and that's when I knew. That's when I really, truly knew what was about to happen. Ivy, Magnus's voice cut through the night, formal and cold, nothing like the way he'd said my name 2 weeks ago when he'd found me by the river, when he'd almost kissed me, when I'd thought maybe, just maybe, he was finally ready to claim me. I was such a fool. Magnus. My voice cracked on his name, and I hated myself for it, for being weak, for letting everyone see how much this was going to hurt. He finally looked at me then, and I searched his dark eyes for something, anything, that looked like the boy I'd grown up with. The one who taught me how to track deer when we were 10, who'd covered for me when I'd accidentally shattered the Alpha's study window, who'd held my hand the first time I'd shifted and been terrified by how small, how wrong, my wolf was compared to everyone else's. But that boy was gone. In his place stood the future Alpha, and future Alphas didn't have broken, defective mates. "I'm Magnus Cross, future Alpha of the Red Howl Pack," he began, and my knees nearly buckled. "No, no, please, goodness, no. Reject you, Ivy Greenwood, as my mate and future Luna." The pain hit me like a physical blow, like someone had reached into my chest, grabbed my heart, and torn it out through my ribs. The mate bond, that beautiful, terrible thing that had been pulling me toward him for months, shredded apart. Each thread snapping sent another wave of agony through my entire body. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I hit my knees hard enough that I felt the impact, tasted blood where I'd bitten my tongue. Somewhere far away, I heard gasps, whispers. Was someone crying? Maybe it was me. Accept it. Magnus's command cut through the haze of pain. He looked, I don't know, pained, sorry. It didn't matter. He'd made his choice, and it wasn't me. It had never been me. Behind him, I could see Lydia Thorne, all golden hair and perfect curves, watching with barely hidden satisfaction. She'd gotten what she wanted, the future Alpha, the position that should have been mine. My voice came out as barely a whisper. I tried again. Ivy Greenwood, accept your rejection. The last threads of the bond disintegrated, and I felt something inside me die. You have until dawn to leave pack territory. Alpha Cross's voice boomed across the clearing. You are packless, rogue. If you're found on Red Howl land after sunrise, you will be killed on sight. Rogue. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. I dragged myself to my feet, my legs shaking so badly I wasn't sure they'd hold me. Every eye in the pack was on me, some pitying, some disgusted, some just coldly indifferent. Not one of them spoke up for me. Not even him. I turned to go. Ivy, Magnus's voice stopped me. I'm sorry. This is for the best, for both of us. I looked back. No, Magnus, I whispered. This is what's easiest for you. There's a difference. Then I walked away from the only home I'd ever known. I walked away, and I didn't look back. The forest at night was different when you were truly alone. Every sound felt like a threat, every shadow a predator waiting to pounce. I ran until my paws were bloody, until my lungs burned with every breath. By the time the sun started to rise, I was miles beyond Red Howl territory, deep into the neutral lands where wolves like me went to disappear or to die. I found a small, dry den beneath the roots of an ancient oak and collapsed inside it. I cried until my throat was raw. I cried for the future I'd lost, for the mate who'd rejected me, and for the girl who had spent her whole life being told she wasn't enough. 3 months. That's how long I'd survived on my own. I'd carved out a sort of existence near a river that teemed with fish. I was checking my snares one evening when I felt it, a presence so powerful the air itself seemed to compress. I shifted, my small, silver-furred wolf growling low in my throat. Then he stepped out from the shadows. The wolf was massive, alpha big, but enormous in a way that defied nature. His fur was midnight black, and his eyes, they weren't the usual brown or gold of a werewolf. They were molten gold, glowing with a light that felt ancient. Lycan, oh goddess, a Lycan. We stared at each other for a long moment. Then, slowly, he shifted. He was taller than any wolf I'd ever met, with broad shoulders and a presence that demanded attention. "You're staring," he said, his voice deep and rich with amusement. I didn't back down. "You're in my territory. Your territory. A rogue claiming land in the neutral zone. That's bold." He took a step closer, and my wolf whimpered, not in fear, but in something that felt dangerously like submission. "I'm not leaving," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I've been tracking you for 2 days, little wolf. I didn't come here to steal your territory. I came because rogues don't have silver eyes. Royal bloodlines do. And there's only one royal bloodline that ran silver." He stopped just inches from me. I could feel the heat radiating off him. "Tell me, Ivy Greenwood, do you know who your parents were?" "No, I was found as a baby on the border. Alpha Cross took me in." His golden eyes darkened. "Of course he did. He didn't take you in out of the kindness of his heart. He took you in to hide you." "Hide me from what?" He reached out, his thumb brushing my jawline. "From your destiny. My name is Reed Thorne. I'm the Lycan King of the Western Territories. And you, little wolf, are coming with me. We have a lot to discuss, and even more to avenge." I'd agreed to go with Reed, not because he'd ordered me to, but because the alternative was staying alone in the neutral lands, wondering forever if he'd been telling the truth. Also, because every time he got close to me, my wolf practically vibrated with interest. She'd been silent and subdued since the rejection, barely more than a whisper in my mind. But around Reed, she was awake, alert, and very interested in the Lycan King, which scared me more than anything else. The journey to the royal court took 2 days. Reed set a punishing pace, but I kept up, driven by pride and curiosity in equal measure. He didn't try to make small talk, didn't push me for information about my past. He just existed beside me, a constant, overwhelming presence that I couldn't ignore no matter how hard I tried. The mate bond I'd felt when we first touched was growing stronger. I could sense his moods, his curiosity, his determination, and underneath it all, a carefully controlled anger that made me nervous. But every time I tried to bring it up, tried to acknowledge what was happening between us, he'd change the subject. Like he knew I wasn't ready. Like he was willing to wait. Court was nothing like I'd expected. I'd pictured something wild, primal. Instead, I found a sprawling estate that looked like it had been carved from the mountain itself. Wolves and Lycans moved through the grounds with purpose, training in the yards, carrying supplies, living their lives. And every single one of them stopped to bow when Reed passed. "Does that get old?" I asked as we walked through the main gates. The bowing. "Yes, but it's tradition." He glanced at me. "You'll have to get used to it too." "Why would I?" "Because you're under my protection now. That makes you important, whether you like it or not." He led me through corridors I'd never be able to navigate on my own, finally stopping at a set of double doors. When he pushed them open, I stepped into a suite of rooms that was bigger than the entire den I'd been living in. "This is too much," I said immediately. "This is adequate," Reed corrected. "You're the king's guest. Act like it. I'm a rogue." "No." He turned to face me fully, his expression serious. "You're a wolf who was betrayed by her pack, cast out through no fault of her own, and who survived 3 months alone in the neutral lands. You're strong, Ivy. It's time you started believing it." Before I could respond, he was gone, the doors closing behind him with a soft click. Next morning, I met Jacqueline. She appeared at my door just after dawn, a tall, lean woman with dark hair braided away from her face and eyes that missed nothing. "I'm Beta Jacqueline," she announced. "The kings requested that I show you around and get you settled." "Beta," I repeated, "you're second in command. To the entire Western Territories, yes." She looked me up and down, not bothering to hide her assessment. "The king doesn't usually bring strays home. You must be special." "I'm not. Save it." "I can smell the mate bond between you two. It's faint, probably because you haven't accepted it yet, but it's there." She smirked at my shocked expression. "Come on, let's get you some proper clothes and food. Then we'll figure out what to do with you." I followed her through the estate, trying not to gawk at everything I saw. The court was massive, housing hundreds of wolves and Lycans. Training yards, gardens, a huge communal dining hall. It was a fully functioning community, not just a pack house. "How long have you been with Reed?" I asked as we walked. "Since we were pups. His father took me in when my parents died." Jacqueline's expression softened slightly. "He's a good male, Ivy. Better than most wolves deserve. Whatever happened to you before, whatever made you so skittish around the bond, he'll wait. He'll give you time." "I was rejected," I said quietly. "By my fated mate, 3 months ago." Jacqueline stopped walking. "Rejected? By who?" "Magnus Cross, future alpha of Red Howl." "That's spineless." She bit off whatever curse she'd been about to utter. "I'm sorry, that's, goddess, I can't imagine. No wonder you're hesitant." "It's not that I don't feel it," I admitted. "The bond with Reed, it's there and it's getting stronger every day. But the thought of accepting it, of letting someone have that kind of power over me again," I shook my head. "I can't do it. I can't survive another rejection." "Reed wouldn't reject you." "Magnus said the same thing. Before he rejected me in front of the entire pack." Jacqueline's jaw tightened. "Come on, let's get you fed. Everything seems worse on an empty stomach." I found Reed in the training yard that afternoon, shirtless and sparring with 3 warriors at once. Goodness, the male was beautiful. He moved like violence was an art form, each strike calculated, each dodge effortless. Sweat gleamed on his skin, and I caught myself staring at the play of muscles across his back as he fought. My wolf purred in appreciation, completely shameless in her desire. "Down, girl," I thought at her. "We are not going there." She huffed at me, unimpressed by my caution. Reed must have sensed me watching because he glanced over, our eyes meeting across the yard. Something hot and hungry flashed in his golden gaze before he turned back to his opponents, and systematically took them all down in under a minute. "Enough," he called, dismissing the warriors. Then he was walking toward me, all predatory grace and barely contained power. Enjoying the view, heat flooded my cheeks. "I was just Jacqueline said you wanted to see me." "I do." He grabbed a towel, wiping sweat from his face. "It's time to start your training." "Training for what?" "For discovering what your wolf is actually capable of." He tossed the towel aside. "Strip down to your training clothes. Let's see what you can do." For the next 2 hours, Reed pushed me harder than I'd ever been pushed. We started with basic combat, stances, strikes, blocks, and he corrected every mistake with patient firmness. When we moved to wolf form, he made me race him, hunt him, fight him. And something strange happened. My wolf, usually so small and weak, seemed to grow. Not physically at least, not that I could see, but in strength, in speed, in the sheer power flowing through our muscles. I moved faster than I ever had, hit harder, lasted longer. When we finally finished, both of us breathing hard, Reed looked at me with something like satisfaction in his eyes. "Your wolf isn't broken," he said. "She's been starved. Whoever suppressed you tried to kill her slowly, from the inside out. But she survived. Do you understand what that means?" I shook my head, still trying to catch my breath. "It means she's strong, Ivy. Stronger than any of them ever wanted you to know. And now that you're away from whatever was suppressing you, she's starting to wake up." He moved closer, his hand coming up to cup my cheek. You're magnificent, and I'm going to help you become everything you were meant to be." I leaned into his touch without thinking, my wolf practically singing at the contact. His close, I could feel the mate bond humming between us, could smell his scent stronger now, mixed with sweat and exertion, and it made me want things I had no right to want. "Reed," I whispered. "I can't, I know." His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. "I know you're scared, I know you've been hurt, and I'm not going to push you, Ivy. The bond will be here when you're ready." He leaned in, his forehead resting against mine. "But I need you to know something. I would never reject you. Never. What the goodness has given us is a gift, and I'm not fool enough to throw that away." Tears burned in my eyes. "How can you be so sure?" "Because I feel it too. This pull, this certainty. You're mine, little wolf. You've been mine since the moment I caught your scent." He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. "And I'm yours, if you'll have me, whenever you're ready." I wanted to tell him I was ready, wanted to close the distance between us, and accept the bond right then and there. But fear held me back, the memory of Magnus's cold rejection, the pain of that shattered bond. I wasn't ready to risk that again. Not yet. "Thank you," I said instead, "for being patient." Reed smiled, soft and genuine. "Always for you." The blood test was Jacqueline's idea. "If Reed's right about your bloodline, we need to confirm it," she'd said over breakfast the next morning. "Royal wolf blood has distinct markers. We can test for them." I'd agreed, mostly because I needed to know. Needed to understand why I'd spent my whole life feeling wrong, feeling broken. The pack healer, an ancient she-wolf named Rose, took the sample herself. She was quiet as she worked, mixing my blood with various reagents, adding drops of this and that. The whole process took less than an hour. When she looked up at me, her eyes were wide with shock. "Impossible," she whispered. "What is it?" Reed demanded, moving to my side immediately. "She's Silver Moon. The markers are unmistakable." Rose's hands shook as she set down her vials. "But that's—" The Silver Moon royal line was wiped out 21 years ago. There were no survivors. 21 years ago. I was 21. "Tell me," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Tell me about the Silver Moon pack." Rose's expression turned sad. They were the most powerful wolf bloodline in existence. Their Alpha King and Luna Queen were extraordinary, fair rulers, strong warriors, beloved by their people. They had one child, a daughter, born 3 months before the massacre. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. What happened to them? They were betrayed. Someone leaked information about their security, their routines. Assassins struck during the new moon, when the pack was at its weakest. By morning, every member of the royal family was dead. The pack scattered, leaderless and broken. Most were absorbed into other packs. Rose's eyes found mine. The infant princess was never found. Everyone assumed she'd died with her parents. "But she didn't," Reed said quietly. "Someone saved her, took her to the borders of Red Howl territory and left her there." "Alpha Cross," I whispered. The pieces were falling into place, and I didn't like the picture they were forming. "He said he found me as a baby, that he took me in out of kindness, or because he knew exactly who you were and wanted to make sure you never became a threat." Reed's anger was a palpable thing now, his eyes flashing gold. "How do you suppress a royal bloodline?" "You keep them close, keep them weak, make sure they never discover their true power." "The tea," I said suddenly. "At Red Howl, I always had special meals, special drinks. They said it was because I was delicate, needed extra nutrients." "Wolfsbane," Rose said grimly, "mixed with other herbs to mask the taste and the effects. Small doses over years would suppress a wolf's abilities without killing them, especially if they started young enough." I felt sick. My entire life had been a lie. Everything I'd been told about myself, about my weakness, about being broken, it had all been a carefully constructed cage to keep me powerless. "I'm going to kill him," I said softly. "I'm going to kill Alpha Cross." "Not if I kill him first," Reed growled. Jacqueline cleared her throat from the doorway. Before we start planning murders, we need to understand the bigger picture. Someone orchestrated the massacre of the Silver Moon royal family. They had to have help. You don't take down that kind of power alone. Alpha Cross might have been involved from the beginning. Or he found me and saw an opportunity, I said. Either way, he's been poisoning me for 21 years. He watched me struggle, watched me fail, watched Magnus reject me, and he said nothing. Reed's hand found mine, squeezing gently. What do you want to do? What did I want? Revenge, obviously, justice. But more than that, I want to know the truth, all of it. Who killed my family? Why? And who else was involved? I looked at Reed. Can you help me find out? Yes. But Ivy, if we start pulling at these threads, we're going to make enemies. Powerful enemies who thought this secret was buried. Good, I said, and meant it. Let them come. I'm done being weak. I'm done being afraid. It's time they learned what happens when you try to bury a royal bloodline. Reed's smile was fierce and proud. That's my girl. Investigation took 3 weeks. Reed called in favors from every contact he had, sent scouts to Red Howl territory, dug through old records and reports. Jacqueline interrogated wolves who'd been alive during the massacre, looking for any detail that might help us understand what had happened. And slowly, piece by piece, the truth emerged. Alpha Cross had been part of a conspiracy. Along with 4 other Alpha leaders, he'd orchestrated the attack on the Silver Moon Pack. Why? Because my father, the Silver Moon Alpha King, had refused to join their alliance, had refused to let them consolidate power across the territories. So they'd killed him, killed my mother, killed everyone, trying to eliminate the entire royal line so they could carve up Silver Moon territory among themselves. Except they'd missed me. One of the royal guards had smuggled me out during the attack. Alpha Cross had found me, recognized the silver fur that marked the royal bloodline, and made a choice. He'd keep me alive as insurance. If anyone ever questioned his claim to portions of Silver Moon territory, he could produce the lost princess and use her as a puppet. But he'd make sure I was too broken, too weak, to ever be a real threat. It had almost worked. By the time Reed finished explaining everything he'd discovered, I was shaking with rage. The other alphas in the conspiracy, I asked through gritted teeth. Are they still alive? 3 of them, yes. 1 died 5 years ago, natural causes, unfortunately, and Alpha Cross, still very much alive and ruling Red Howl. Reed's expression was grim. Ivy, if you want to pursue this, if you want justice for your family, I'll support you. But you need to understand what that means. You'll be declaring war on 4 established packs. They'll fight back. Let them, I stood, pacing the length of Reed's office. They murdered my family. They stole my birthright. They poisoned me for 21 years and made me believe I was worthless. I spun to face him. I'm done being their victim. I'm done hiding. It's time they face what they created. Reed stood as well, moving to stand in front of me. His hands came up to cup my face, his golden eyes intense. Then we do this the right way. We gather evidence, present it to the Council of Alphas. We expose them for what they are. And if the council won't act, then we make them act. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. You're not alone in this, Ivy. You have me, you have Jacqueline, you have every wolf loyal to the crown. We will see justice done. The certainty in his voice, the absolute conviction, made something inside me crack. I'm scared, I admitted in a whisper. What if I'm not strong enough? What if I can't be what everyone needs me to be? You're already strong enough. You survived, Ivy. Against all odds, despite everything they did to break you, you survived. That's not weakness. That's the strength of a true alpha. Before I could overthink it, before fear could stop me, I reached up and pulled him down into a kiss. He froze for half a heartbeat, surprised. Then he was kissing me back with a hunger that made my knees weak, his arms wrapping around me, pulling me against his body. The mate bond flared to life between us, singing with recognition and joy and rightness. This This was what it was supposed to feel like. Not the painful yearning I'd felt with Magnus, always tinged with his reluctance and shame. This was complete, whole, perfect. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Reed rested his forehead against mine. "Tell me you're ready," he said, his voice rough. "Tell me you're accepting this bond, because once we do this, there's no going back. You'll be mine and I'll be yours permanently." "I'm ready," I whispered. "I'm terrified and I'm still broken in places, but I'm ready. I want this. I want you." "You're not broken," Reed corrected gently. "You're healing. There's a difference." Then he was kissing me again, and I stopped thinking altogether. The Council of Alphas met once every full moon in neutral territory. It took 2 months for Reed to arrange for our evidence to be presented, 2 months of preparing, of gathering more proof, of teaching me to control the power that was finally waking in my veins. 2 months of falling more completely in love with Reed every single day. The mating ceremony had been private, just Reed, me, and Jacqueline as witness. When Reed had marked me, when I'd marked him in return, the bond had settled into place with such perfect rightness that I'd cried. Not from pain or fear, but from sheer relief. This was what it was supposed to feel like. This completeness, this certainty. Now, standing outside the council chambers with Reed at my side, I felt that bond humming between us, lending me strength. "You ready for this?" he asked quietly. "No," I admitted, "but I'm doing it anyway." The council chamber was massive, a circular room with tiered seating where alphas from every major pack in the territory sat. The air was thick with dominance, every alpha present trying to assert their power. It would have overwhelmed me months ago. Now, I let my own power rise to meet theirs. Alpha Cross sat in the 3rd tier, his face carefully neutral. But I saw the moment he recognized me, saw his eyes widen, saw the flash of panic before he controlled it. Good. Let him be afraid. Magnus was there too, standing behind his father. Our eyes met, and I saw the shock on his face. He looked older than I remembered, tired, haunted, even. I looked away. He didn't matter anymore. "The council recognizes Reed Thorne, Lycan King of the Western Territories," the council head announced. "State your business." Reed's presence filled the room. "I come before you with evidence of treason, conspiracy, and regicide. 21 years ago, the Silver Moon Royal Pack was massacred. Recent evidence suggests this was not a rogue attack, but a coordinated assassination ordered by members of this very council." The murmurs turned to shouts, denials, accusations of lies. "Silence," the council head's command cut through the chaos. "These are serious accusations, King Reed. You have proof." "I do. But first, I'd like to introduce someone." Reed turned to me, extending his hand. "This is Ivifina Silvercrest, daughter of Alpha King Marcus and Luna Queen Alina of the Silver Moon Pack. The princess everyone believed was dead." I stepped forward, letting my power unfurl. My eyes were glowing silver, the mark of my bloodline. The council chamber erupted. Alpha Cross was on his feet, his face pale. "Lies. She's a rogue making up stories." "Then explain this." Jacqueline stepped forward, projecting images onto the wall, old financial records and communications between the 5 conspirators. A recording played a dying Alpha admitting to his role in the massacre, naming his fellow conspirators. Alpha Cross, Alpha Voss, Alpha Grim, Alpha Stone. 4 voices that had ordered the death of my entire family. When it finished, the silence was deafening. "The penalty for regicide is death," the council head said slowly. Alpha Cross snarled. "So what if I did? The Silver Moon Pack was too powerful. Marcus Silvercrest was a tyrant." "My father was a good man," I said, my voice deadly quiet. "And you murdered him." I shifted then, letting my wolf surge forward. My claws extended, longer and sharper than they'd ever been. My eyes blazed silver. I moved faster than I ever had before, crossing the distance in a heartbeat. I had Alpha Cross pinned, my claws at his throat. The council will decide your fate, I growled. But know this, you failed. My family's line lives in me. Ivy, Reed's voice was calm. Let him go. Let the council do their job. I stepped back. The council head looked at the guards. Alpha Cross, Alpha Voss, Alpha Grim, Alpha Stone, you are hereby stripped of your titles. Take them into custody. As the guards moved in, Reed wrapped his arm around my waist. The Silver Moon territory still exists, Ivy. It's yours, your birthright. Yes, I said clearly. I accept my birthright. I claim the Silver Moon territory. 1 year later, I stood in the main hall of the rebuilt Silver Moon pack house, watching wolves laugh and celebrate. The structure was beautiful, a perfect blend of the old architecture and new design, a symbol of what we'd become, honoring the past while building something new. My hand rested on my rounded belly, feeling the pup, our daughter, kick energetically. She was going to be a handful, Reed said, strong-willed and powerful, just like her mother. I couldn't wait to meet her. You're doing it again, Reed murmured, appearing at my side with 2 glasses of juice. No wine for me until after the baby came. Doing what? Looking too satisfied with yourself. But he was smiling as he said it, his free hand coming to rest over mine on my belly. Our daughter kicked at his touch, and his smile widened. She knows her daddy. She knows her daddy spoils her rotten already, I corrected. The nursery has more toys than 3 pups could play with. And whose fault is that? You're the one who keeps bringing things home. I laughed, leaning into his warmth. Guilty. Across the room, I spotted Jacqueline deep in conversation with Marcus, Magnus's former beta, who'd asked to join Silver Moon after Alpha Cross's execution. He'd proven himself loyal and capable, becoming one of my most trusted advisors. Things had changed so much in a year. Alpha Cross and the other conspirators had been executed by the council, their packs distributed to new leadership. Magnus had taken over Red Howl, and from what I heard, was actually doing a good job. He'd sent a gift when he heard about my pregnancy, a carved wooden wolf that had belonged to his mother. No note, just the gift. I'd kept it. Lydia had tried to maintain her position as Magnus's chosen mate, but he'd rejected her a month after everything went down. Apparently, he'd told her he wasn't interested in anyone who'd celebrated my pain. Last I heard, she'd left Red Howl in disgrace. I didn't feel bad for her. Your Majesty, a young wolf approached nervously. I just wanted to say thank you for giving me a place here. My old pack, they called me weak because I preferred healing to fighting. But here, I can be myself. You're not weak, I told him gently. Healers are some of the strongest wolves in any pack. We need you, probably more than we need another warrior. His face lit up with pride and relief. Thank you. That means everything. As he walked away, Reed pressed a kiss to my temple. You're good at this, being an alpha. I had good teachers. I thought about my parents, the ones I'd never known but whose legacy lived on in every story the older wolves told. Do you think they'd be proud of what I've built here? Are you kidding? Ivy, you took everything they tried to destroy and made it stronger. You created a pack that protects the vulnerable instead of exploiting them. You proved that kindness isn't weakness. His hand tightened on mine. They'd be so proud they'd probably cry. Tears burned in my eyes and I blinked them back. I miss them. Even though I never knew them, I miss them. I know, love, I know. We stood together, watching our pack celebrate, watching the family we'd built from broken pieces and second chances. A commotion at the door made us both turn. A group of wolves entered, rogues, by the look of them. Thin, wary, desperate. The crowd quieted as I approached them. Welcome to Silver Moon territory, I said gently. I'm Alpha Ivafina. Are you seeking sanctuary? The leader, a scarred she-wolf who looked like she'd been through hell, nodded slowly. We heard stories about a pack that takes in wolves others have rejected. Wolves who have been hurt or cast out. Is it true? It's true. Then we'd like to stay, if you'll have us. I looked at them, these broken, scared wolves who'd probably been told their whole lives that they weren't good enough. I saw myself in every face. Of course we'll have you, I said, my voice strong and sure. Welcome home. Later that night, I found myself standing in what would be my daughter's nursery. Reed had painted the walls himself, a forest scene with a silver moon rising above the trees. You know, I said as he wrapped his arms around me from behind, a year ago, I was alone in the neutral lands, convinced I'd never have any of this, that I'd die alone and forgotten. And now I have everything. A mate who loves me, a pack that needs me, a daughter on the way, a home. I turned in his arms, looking up at the male who'd saved me in more ways than one. How did I get so lucky? Lucky, Reed smiled. Ivy, you earned every bit of this. You survived when they tried to break you. You fought back when they tried to bury you. You took your pain and used it to build something beautiful. He kissed my forehead. You're not lucky, you're strong. We're strong, I corrected. Together, he agreed. Our daughter kicked again, harder this time, and we both laughed. She's going to be trouble, I predicted, just like her mother. Hey, I meant it as a compliment. Reed's hands splayed across my belly. I hope she has your spirit, your courage, your heart. And your eyes, I said, those gorgeous gold eyes. We'll see. We stood there in the soft darkness, two broken wolves who'd found each other, who'd built something lasting from the ashes of what they'd lost. I thought about the girl I'd been rejected, alone, convinced she was worthless. That girl had died the night she left Red Howl. In her place stood a woman who knew her worth, who'd reclaimed her birthright, who'd learned that true strength wasn't about never falling. It was about rising every single time. The goodness had taken everything from me that night Magnus rejected me. And then she'd given me so much more than I'd ever lost. This was my pack, my family, my home, my future. And I was never letting it go.